Good morning, my friends. This is the fifth training of the morning. For anybody who's stuck with us, thank you. I know that our friend, hey, it was a rookie mistake right there, guys. Never have YouTube playing in the background of your stream. It's a bad idea. But we've got some great repeat people that are here with us. Thanks for all the great comments and questions. We got our good friend Mark here, who is going to talk for the next few minutes about importing course content into Canvas. So with that, Mark, take it away.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Excited to be leading a Canvas Live session that is talking about all the ways that we can share and bring in content from one Canvas course into another. So what I've done here, we have a quick peek at one of my dashboards here, and I have created a new sandbox course, and we've called that new sandbox course and new empty course. So we'll go ahead and play with moving some content into there. Like a magician, I'll dive in and demonstrate that there is nothing behind the veil. We do have an empty course. And one of the things, before we really even dive into some of the different ways we share content, one of the things that the consultants in my district we've been starting to recommend is using sandbox courses as collaborative spaces. So one of the easiest ways to share content right off the bat is create a Canvas sandbox course from your dashboard. And then once you go into that new empty course shell, you can always go into people and add co-teachers to your course. And one of the ways that we found that sharing content between departments or between teachers has been the easiest is to have these shared sandboxes with resources, and then the individual teacher can grab and share whatever resources the team of teachers have populated into that shared Canvas account. So that's one of the little quick tips before we sort of dive in. But if I wanted to bring in content from one of my other courses from my homepage, I have the ability to import existing content. This button on the right-hand side, import existing content, is going to do the exact same thing as if I select settings of my course and then choose import course content. Both will activate the course import tool for Canvas. It's just a couple of different ways to get to the same place. So I'll do it from the new easiest way, which is right from the home page. So again, I'm in home of my empty course, and I'm going to choose to import existing content. So this is going to be content that I already own in another Canvas course. So it may have been a concluded course from last year. It may be in a shared sandbox, but it's something that I already own and I already have access to. I'll select import course content, and Canvas will ask me a series of questions at this point to make sure it's able to pull the content correctly. The first thing Canvas is going to ask is, okay, you want to bring stuff into this class. Fantastic. Where is the stuff coming from? So from the drop-down menu, we'll find out where the content is currently living. If you're migrating content from another LMS like Moodle or D2L or Blackboard or some of those others, we do have those abilities to bring in course packages from some of the other LMSs. If you have been using Canvas, you will grab your content from another one of your owned Canvas courses. So I will select, go ahead, and I want to take it from one of my other courses. Canvas then says, fantastic, here is a list of all the courses that you own in your account. Now, if the course that you're bringing content from has concluded, so say that you're bringing content in from last year's course that's already closed, make sure to check this box to include the completed courses in your list of courses to search for so you can access the right information. So I'll go ahead and I'll bring some content in from one of the PDs I did over the summer. I can choose to either bring in all of my content or some of my content. And I can also choose whether or not I want to keep the due dates. I generally like to check this off and remove the dates, but it's personal preference. And if I wanted to move everything from this utilizing web conferencing over, I would select all content. But if I only want to bring in some things, I'll select specific. So I'll choose the more complicated of the two options, just so I can demo what that next step would be. So in this case, I'm bringing content in from utilizing web conferences. I'm only going to select some of the specific content, and I wanted to remove any of the due dates for this activity. At that point, I can come over to import. And even though I selected import, there's still one thing I need to do. I still need to select what is that content that I wanted to select. So I'll click the orange, choose my content, and we'll notice that this is actually a breakdown of that utilizing web conferences PD course. I have my 5 modules, I have my 17 assignments, I have everything that I can click on. I can choose, for instance, to bring in all 5 discussion topics if I want, or I can open it up and then just choose the 1 or 2 individual things that I want. Similarly, if I choose a module, I am going to take everything within the module will come along with me. So if I have a module, a chunk of information that I want to bring over, if 2 of those discussion topics are in the module that I'm bringing over, this introduction module, I actually don't need to select these because Canvas knows that when I bring in the module, everything within the module is going to come over as well. So I'll go ahead and select that content. In this case, I'm just bringing over that 1 module. We'll see that it'll queue up, and it will shortly turn to a blue work bar, and then it will turn green once that content has come in, which in this case was pretty quick, yay. So I can, at that point, confirm that that content made it over. There is our introduction module that was not there a second ago, and that's how we can bring in. We use the course import tool primarily to bring in large amounts of Canvas activities. If you're bringing in an entire course, if you're bringing in a module, which we look at as sort of folders within Canvas, then the course import tool is definitely the way to go. If instead we're looking to just bring in individual parts, individual activities, so maybe I want to share this course information page, or maybe I want to just share this individual graded discussion, we can share those out as well. So if I was to jump into, in this course, discussions, I can find my graded discussion over here. And if I wanted to, I can come over all the way to the right side to the 3 dots, and I can choose to send this activity over to one of my other courses if I want. So I can copy 2, and now Canvas will show me all of the courses that I can move this content into. So maybe in this case, I want to move that into my sandbox. If my sandbox has modules, I could even filter it into a specific module within my sandbox. In this case, I don't have any modules, so I don't have that option. But then I can just move that content, in this case, this graded discussion, directly into any of my courses. And I'll just wait for this green check mark to let me know that everything has been sent over the way that it needs to. I can also share this information with a coworker. So I can also click on the individual. So this, again, this is what's known as direct share. And we both have the copy to feature and the send to feature. This is just for individual parts. So individual activities, a Canvas page, a Canvas quiz, a Canvas assignment. This at this time does not work for the larger chunks. We can't share using direct share an entire module or an entire page. But if I wanted to send this graded discussion to one of my coworkers, I could select send to. And in this case, I can just go ahead and start typing. And I can find one of my coworkers pops up, and I can go ahead and send her this information. I can send it to numerous people if I want. And I just forward that information on, and of course get an error message because that's just how we work. When I have content shared with me, I will see that shared content in my account setting off on the left-hand side here. So what you'll notice is when I look at my Canvas account, I have this number 5 next to my account. That means that I have content that's been shared with me. I can click on that account, and we now have my shared content. So I have my teammates, Brittany, Kristen, and Miranda, have shared various resources with me. And if I want to go ahead and grab something that Brittany shared with me, I can click on the activity and copy it into one of my courses. So I'll copy it in the same exact way that when I copy content from one of my classes into one of my other classes. Yes.
Okay. Hey, Mark, let's
Sounds
pause
good.
for just a second. I want to take a couple of quick questions. Let's start with Joe here on YouTube. I just joined. My question relates to importing from outside my university Canvas. I created my course in a generic Canvas account and now need to import into the university Canvas. Okay,
so we can do that a couple of different ways. One of the ways that we can do it is you can go into your like free for teacher account, which is what it sounds like you had built your course in. And once we go into that free for teacher account, so we can go into any of our courses, and we can go down into settings. And on the right-hand side, we can choose to export course content. So you can download all of the stuff from your free to teachers account that you've created onto your computer. And then what you would do is you would log into your university's account or your school account at that point and go into your empty course shell that has been created for you by your institution. You would then go into settings again, and instead of exporting the account, you would import. And then instead of copying a Canvas course, you would just import the content that you had downloaded.
Awesome. Got an elementary art teacher here. Can I share an entire module with my 3 third grade teachers?
So the easiest way to do that's a fantastic question. There are several ways that we can share larger chunks of information. One of, I think, the most exciting ways to share information in Canvas is the Canvas Commons. Canvas Commons literally has hundreds of thousands of activities that teachers and school districts can share. And as users of Canvas, you can go in and you can grab any of those resources. So one of the things that we can do is from the home page, I can choose to share out, actually, since we were talking about modules, let's take a look at how we would share out a module. So one of the options would be to share it to Commons. So I would go into this new empty course, and if I wanted to share this module, I can just click on the skinny snowman next to the name of the module, and I can choose to share it to Commons. And then I would just give the information to my co-teachers, and then they could go into Commons and find this module, and they could import it into their courses. The other option, and this is probably the option I would recommend, is if I remember right, this was a 3rd grade, we go ahead and open up, make a quick module called 3rd grade art, create that course, bring your content, copy your content into this course, and then go and add your coworkers or the members of your department into this course as well. And then they would have access to any of the resources that you've put in there. And then they could independently and individually move any of those resources that they need into one of their student-facing courses.
Awesome. Keep going, Mark. You got about 10 more minutes.
All righty. So let's talk a little bit about roadblocks that we might encounter as we're moving content from one place to another. The one thing to keep in mind are your use of LTIs, learning tool integrations. One of my absolute favorite tools in Canvas is using Google Docs Cloud assignments. To me, that has been a replacement for my old school worksheets. I don't end up having to fight with, toners exploding on me and paper jams and all that good sort of stuff. But it does create some challenges when I'm moving that content from place to place. So if I was using a Google Doc Cloud assignment, if I was embedding something on a Canvas page using my integrated Google Drive, and I share that resource in a shared sandbox with one of my coworkers, I will see everything on that page and they will see everything on that page because that sandbox is integrated with my Google account because I'm one of the users. Now, if one of those teachers takes my page that I've shared in that sandbox and moves it over into one of their student-facing courses that doesn't have me as a teacher in it, all of a sudden that embedded Google information would not be available because that was embedded from my drive, but my drive is no longer associated with that page because that student-facing page has its own teacher. And so that LTI link would break. So it's important that when you are sharing information where you are using LTIs, making sure that you as the teacher that's going to be presenting that activity to your students, that you individually have access to the document that is being embedded in that shared Canvas page, whether it's a Nearpod, whether it's a Turnitin, or where I generally see it the most, using that Google Drive integration. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. The other challenge is what happens if you bring in stuff and you realize, whoops, I imported the wrong stuff. I don't need that. One of the great things with Canvas is we can hide things pretty darn easily. So if we've brought in a module that was brought in by accident, and of course I'm in the wrong course, let's jump into another course. So if I've brought in content and this was brought in by accident, I can always just either delete the thing that I brought in, or I can go in and choose to unpublish. So in this case, maybe I do want my kids to have access to the module, but I don't want them to have access to this graded discussion. I can go ahead and turn on the course information, and I can just go ahead and hide or unpublish the graded discussion. And then when I have time, I'll remove that from the module. Now, when I remove things from the module, I don't delete. If you notice, I don't even have the choice to delete something. I can just remove it from the module, just take it out of the folder. If I do want to delete something, I'll need to go to whatever that root activity was. So in this case, it was a discussion that I removed from the module. And if I actually want to remove that discussion or erase that discussion from the class, I'll need to go to that sub-account first, the discussions tab, and then at that point, I can choose that activity. Now you notice I have that ability to delete from there. And one thing to keep in mind, when you see a red button in Canvas, we don't have that a lot. I kind of joke around that this is sort of the nuclear option. If you see a red button, that means when you push that, there's not a lot of stuff that we can do to get it back. So when you do see those red buttons pop up, just make sure that what you want that button to do is something that you want it to do.
Okay, Mark, let's take this question here from Andre. If I have 15 items, I can unpublish all at once. If you unpublish the module, the items are visible. Are they visible for the students? So he's wondering, if he has all 15, can he unpublish all of them at once?
So the ability to publish and unpublish individual activities depends on if students have started to turn in work or not. Once students have begun to submit work, we're unable to unpublish the individual activity. But the sort of hack around that is we can unpublish the unit or the module that the activity is in. So if I was to jump into one of these PD courses that I taught over the summer, there are going to be activities that I won't be able to unpublish because people have already started turning it in. If you notice this creating a studio collection, I'm trying to click that button, but it's not giving me the option to unpublish that. So students would have this all published. If I want my students not to have access to this for whatever reason, I can always go to that main module tab and unpublish that module. So even though the different parts of using Studio are still published, the module itself using Studio is not. So if I go into Home and I dive into my student view and we go into modules, you'll notice that the Studio module is no longer there. And so that's our sort of workaround for how we can hide activities where students have already begun submitting into, how we can still sort of unpublish, even though technically we're not able to unpublish the actual activity.
Love it. Any other big things you want to make sure that we cover off on, Mark, before we dive into any questions?
I think the biggest thing that I've seen in the first couple weeks of school being active at the district that I'm assigned to is do follow up with those LTIs. Make sure that if you are sharing resources back and forth, that those resources that are going across, that you have access to whatever that, Google Doc or Google Sheet or Google Slide is, so that when your students open up something that has been shared with you, they can see the content because you're one of the owners. So making sure you're an owner of the LTI or you have access to that LTI is going to make the sharing of resources as smooth as it can be.
Awesome. Everybody, it has been a lovely, fun, invigorating, and crazy morning filled with lots of cool trainings. We've done 5 this morning, everything from assignments to quizzes, new and classic, to importing content, and on from there. So make sure you go check out what it is that we've been doing this morning. Yes, these are all available for as long as you need them to be. Share them with your teachers, share them with anybody that needs to see them. Big thanks to Mark for joining us. I'm sure you're going to be seeing more of us, whether you want to or not. Thanks everybody for coming. Thanks, Mark.
Have a great one, everyone.